memories askew. The night knows your name. You wake each morning wearing a mask you never chose. The mirror reflects a stranger's face painted in expectations and old wounds. Somewhere between childhood and now, you learn to apologize for taking up space in your own life. The weight of unspoken words sits heavy in your chest. Every breath carries the memory of dreams you abandoned to make others comfortable. You've been taught that healing means hiding your darkness, that growth means pretending yesterday never happened. But tonight is different. Tonight, the veil between what you show the world and what you truly are grows thin. The darkness outside your window isn't empty. It's pregnant with possibility, heavy with the stories your soul has been trying to tell you. Your heart beats with an ancient rhythm, older than your fears, deeper than your shame. It remembers who you were before the world taught you to be small, before you learned that love must be earned through perfection. The silence around you isn't hollow, it's listening, waiting for the moment when you stop running from the parts of yourself you've been told are too much, too broken, too raw to be seen. You've spent years trying to solve yourself like a problem, fixing what isn't broken, healing what was never wounded. But what if the answer isn't in becoming someone else? What if the medicine you seek lives in the marrow of who you already are? Tonight, you begin the journey home to yourself. Not the polished version others demand, but the wild, untamed, magnificent creature who has been waiting in the shadows of your heart, patient as winter, faithful as dawn. The path won't be straight. Healing never is, but every step you take into your own darkness is a step toward the light you were born to carry. The house settles around you like old bones finding rest. Each creak speaks a language you almost remember, the dialect of safety, of belonging. You sit in the space between wake and sleep where truth lives unguarded. Your childhood bedroom exists somewhere in the corridors of memory, unchanged by time. The toys you loved still wait on shelves that exist only in the geography of dreams. The child you are still lives there, building castles from cardboard boxes, believing in magic. That child knew secrets you've forgotten, knew that monsters under the bed were just shadows looking for understanding, knew that tears were rain that helped flowers grow in the garden of the heart. You remember the day you stopped believing in your own magic. Someone told you fairy tales weren't real. Someone laughed when you said you could talk to the moon. Someone convinced you that growing up meant growing away from wonder. But wonder never left you. It went underground, like seeds in winter, waiting for the right season to bloom again. Your imagination didn't die. It simply learned to whisper instead of sing. The stories you loved as a child weren't just entertainment. They were maps to the treasure buried in your own soul. Every hero's journey was your journey. Every dragon was your fear. Every rescue was your own salvation. Tonight, you return to that bedroom of memory. The moonlight streaming through windows that no longer exist illuminates the wisdom you abandoned to fit in a world that never deserved your conformity. Your inner child sits cross-legged on a floor made of starlight, holding a gift wrapped in the colours of forgiveness. The gift is simple but profound. Permission to be who you really are. You reach out with hands that remember how to play, how to create, how to love without condition. The child smiles and places the gift in your palm. It weighs nothing and contains everything. You are home. You have always been home. The journey was never about finding yourself. It was about remembering you were never lost. The mirror in your hallway catches fragments of who you've become. Each reflection tells a different story. The dutiful child, the responsible adult, the caretaker, the perfectionist. But none of them look like the person who dreams behind your eyes. You've worn so many faces that you've forgotten your own. Each role demanded a different costume, a different voice, a different heart. You learned to be a chameleon, shifting colours to match others' needs, disappearing into backgrounds you never chose. The masks served a purpose once. They protected the tender parts of you from a world that seemed too harsh for authenticity. They helped you survive rooms full of people who mistook your sensitivity for weakness. But survival isn't living. Hiding isn't healing. The masks that once protected you have become prisons, beautiful cages that keep your soul from breathing freely. Behind each mask lives a part of you that's been silenced, the angry part who learned that rage wasn't acceptable, the sad part who was told to smile through tears, the wild part who was trained to sit still and be polite. These exiled pieces of yourself didn't disappear. They went into hiding, taking up residence in the basement of your psyche. growing stronger in the darkness, waiting for you to remember they exist. Your anger isn't dangerous, it's energy-seeking expression. Your sadness isn't weakness, it's love with nowhere to go. Your wildness isn't chaos, it's freedom wearing its natural clothes. The integration begins with acknowledgement. You don't have to like every part of yourself to accept it. You don't have to understand every emotion to honor it. You simply have to stop pretending they don't exist. Tonight, you stand before the mirror of truth, removing each mask with reverence for the protection it provided. Underneath lies a face you recognize but haven't seen in years. The face you wore before the world taught you it wasn't enough. This face is scarred and beautiful, weathered and wise. It bears the marks of every storm you've survived, every love you've lost, every dream you've buried and resurrected. It's imperfect and radiant, human and divine. You're more than the sum of your masks. You're the light that shines through every crack, the song that plays beneath every silence, the love that survives every ending. Dreams arrive like letters from a country you've never visited but somehow call home. They speak in symbols older than language, in metaphors your heart understands even when your mind cannot translate them. Last night you dreamed of walking through corridors lined with doors. Each door was painted a different colour, each one calling to you with a voice you almost recognized. Behind the red door lived your passion, wild and untamed. Behind the blue door, your sorrow sat by a window, waiting for you to sit beside it. You've been taught to ignore these nocturnal messengers, to dismiss them as random firings of a sleeping brain. But your dreams are not chaos. They are your deepest wisdom disguised as stories, your unconscious speaking in the only language it knows. The characters in your dreams are not strangers. They are aspects of yourself, different faces of the same soul. The wise old woman who appears in many dreams is your inner knowing, patient and eternal. The shadow figure who pursues you isn't your enemy. It's the part of yourself you refuse to acknowledge. Your dreams of flying aren't wishes for escape. They're memories of freedom, reminders that you were born with wings. Your dreams of falling aren't nightmares of failure. They're invitations to let go of what no longer serves you. The recurring dream of being unprepared for an exam isn't about academic failure. It's about the fear of being found inadequate, of not meeting invisible standards you never agreed to. It's your psyche's way of asking, who are you trying to prove yourself to and why? Water appears often in your dreams because water is emotion, the fluid reality that connects all things. When you dream of drowning, you're not afraid of water, you're overwhelmed by feelings you haven't learned to swim through. When you dream of clear lakes, you're glimpsing the peace that lies beneath the surface turbulence of daily life. Your dreams of childhood homes aren't nostalgia. They're archaeological expeditions into the foundation of who you are. The rooms represent different aspects of your psyche. The basement holds what you've buried, the attic stores what you've elevated beyond reach. Tonight, you become an archaeologist of the invisible, a translator of the symbolic. You approach your dreams not as entertainment but as guidance, not as randomness but as revelation. Your unconscious has been writing you love letters in the language of dreams, trying to show you what your waking mind cannot see. It's time to learn the vocabulary of your own depths. The night is your classroom, dreams your curriculum, sleep your laboratory for transformation. Every symbol is a gift, every nightmare a teacher in disguise, every recurring theme a message your soul won't stop sending until you finally listen. In the deep forests of your interior landscape, shadows move between the trees. They are not monsters, they are the aspects of yourself you've been taught to fear, the parts of your nature you've banished to the wilderness of the unconscious. Your shadow is not your enemy. It is your unlived life, your unexpressed potential, your denied power. It carries the strength you gave away to be accepted, the anger you swallowed to keep peace, the desires you buried to appear respectable. You learned early that certain feelings weren't welcome in polite company. Anger made you difficult, sadness made you a burden, joy made you too much. So you locked these parts away, believing that partial living was safer than whole truth. But what you resist persists. What you deny gains power in the darkness. The shadow grows strong on neglect, feeding on the energy you spend trying to pretend it doesn't exist. Your shadow contains not just what you consider negative, but also what you consider too positive. The brilliant artist you never became, the adventurer you never allowed yourself to be, the lover you never let yourself become. Integration isn't about becoming your shadow. It's about making peace with it, acknowledging its gifts along with its challenges. Your anger, when integrated, becomes righteous passion for justice. Your sadness becomes compassion for others' pain. Your hidden selfishness becomes healthy self-care. The shadow appears in your life through projection. The people who irritate you most are often mirrors, reflecting back the disowned parts of yourself. The colleague who's too aggressive might be showing you your own unexpressed assertiveness. The friend who's too needy might be reflecting your own unacknowledged hunger for attention. When you point a finger in judgment, 3 fingers point back at you. This isn't punishment, it's invitation. Every projection is an opportunity to reclaim another piece of your wholeness. Your shadow also carries your golden potential. The qualities you admire most in others often live dormant within you, waiting for permission to emerge. The artist you admire carries the creativity you've suppressed. The leader you respect embodies the authority you've given away. Tonight, you walk into the forest of your shadow without weapons or defenses. You approach these exiled parts with curiosity instead of fear, with compassion instead of judgment. You sit with your anger and ask what injustice it's trying to correct. You hold your sadness and ask what loss it's trying to honor. You embrace your wildness and ask what freedom it's trying to restore. The shadow doesn't need to be conquered. It needs to be understood. It doesn't need to be destroyed. It needs to be integrated. It doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be acknowledged as part of the whole beautiful, complex truth of who you are. In the marriage of light and shadow, in the integration of all your parts, you become complete. Not perfect, but whole. Not pure, but authentic. Not simple, but beautifully complex. The wise old woman appears at the crossroads of your dreams, her eyes holding the depth of centuries. She's your anima, the eternal feminine principle that lives within you regardless of your gender, the source of intuition, receptivity, and deep knowing. She's been waiting for you to remember her, to turn away from the harsh lights of rational thought long enough to see her standing in the gentle glow of moonlight. She is the part of you that knows without thinking, feels without analyzing, understands without explaining. In a world that worships logic and linear thinking, you've forgotten the wisdom of the spiral path, the knowledge that comes through feeling and sensing. You've been taught to trust only what can be measured, to value only what can be proven. But your anima holds a different kind of intelligence. She knows that truth often arrives through symbols and stories, through dreams and synchronicities. She reads the language of the heart, interprets the messages of the body, understands the communication of the natural world. She is the voice that whispers warnings before your mind recognizes danger. She is the instinct that guides you toward what nurtures your soul. She is the creative force that births new possibilities from the fertile darkness of the unknown. Your anima speaks in the currency of images and emotions. When you feel drawn to certain colors, she is communicating. When you find yourself crying at unexpected beauty, she is expressing herself. When you know something without knowing how you know it, she is guiding you. She is the part of you that connects to the mystery, that finds meaning in coincidence, that sees patterns in chaos. She is your bridge to the numinous, your translator of the ineffable, your guide through the territories that maps cannot chart. In your relationships, your anima influences whom you love and how you love. She's attracted to what complements your wholeness, drawn to what your conscious mind might reject. She sees beyond the surface to the soul's true nature. Your anima also holds your wounds around love and connection. If she learned early that love was dangerous, she might retreat into protective isolation. If she was betrayed by those meant to nurture, she might become cynical about human connection. Healing your anima means healing your relationship with receptivity, with vulnerability, with the parts of yourself that need tenderness. It means learning to value feeling as much as thinking, intuition as much as analysis, being as much as doing. Tonight, you meet your anima at the crossroads of choice. She offers you a cup filled with liquid moonlight, the essence of feminine wisdom. To drink means to remember what you knew before the world taught you to forget. The liquid tastes like childhood wonder, like the safety of being held, like the recognition of coming home. It flows through your body, awakening cells that remember how to trust, how to receive, how to be nourished by beauty. Your anima doesn't demand worship. She asks for recognition. She doesn't need perfection. She needs honoring. She doesn't want to rule your life, she wants to be included in it. In the integration of your anima, you become more complete, more balanced, more capable of deep intimacy with yourself and others. You learn to dance between doing and being, between knowing and mystery, between strength and tenderness. The warrior within you has been sleeping under layers of conditioning that taught you to be agreeable, to avoid conflict, to keep peace at any cost. But tonight, this inner warrior stirs, remembering the sacred duty to protect what matters most. Your animus, the masculine principle within you, carries the energy of focused action, clear boundaries, and purposeful direction. He is not toxic masculinity. He is conscious masculine power in service of love, truth, and justice. He is the part of you that says no when no needs to be said, that stands up when standing up is required, that moves forward when movement serves the greater good. He cuts through illusion with the sword of clarity, navigates by the compass of authentic values. Your animus has been weakened by a culture that confuses aggression with strength, dominance with leadership, control with power. You learn to suppress his healthy expressions, fearing they would make you too much, too difficult, too demanding. But healthy masculine energy isn't about conquering, it's about creating. It's not about taking, it's about giving structure to dreams. It's not about control, it's about conscious choice and clear action. Your inner warrior knows the difference between fighting against something and fighting for something. He understands that true strength often looks like gentleness, that real power often chooses restraint, that authentic leadership serves rather than dominates. When your animus is wounded, you might find yourself either too passive or too aggressive. You might shrink from necessary confrontations or create unnecessary conflicts. You might give your power away or try to take power from others. Healing your animus means reclaiming your right to take up space, to have opinions, to pursue your goals with determination. It means learning to channel anger into action, frustration into fuel for change, ambition into service. Your inner warrior carries the capacity for discrimination, the ability to discern what deserves your time, energy, and attention. He helps you choose what to cultivate and what to release, what to embrace, and what to resist. He is also your inner father, the part that provides structure and direction to your creative impulses. While your anima births new possibilities, your animus gives them form and manifestation in the world. Tonight, your warrior awakens from his slumber, stretching muscles that remember how to move with purpose. He stands before you not as conqueror but as protector, not as ruler but as guardian of your highest values. He offers you his sword, not a weapon of destruction but a tool of discernment. Its blade is forged from self-respect, its handle carved from integrity. When you wield it consciously, it cuts away what no longer serves while protecting what nurtures your growth. Your animus doesn't ask you to become hard. He asks you to become clear. He doesn't demand that you fight everyone. He requires that you stop fighting yourself. He doesn't want you to dominate others. He wants you to master your own responses. In the integration of your animus, you become capable of authentic action, aligned with authentic values. You learn to move through the world with both compassion and clarity, with both receptivity and direction. The marriage of your inner feminine and masculine creates a wholeness that is greater than the sum of its parts. You become capable of fierce tenderness, gentle strength, receptive action, and grounded intuition. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. These words echo through the chambers of your heart like a bell calling you home to yourself. They carry the weight of truth and the lightness of liberation. You have spent so many years becoming who others needed you to be. The good child who earned love through compliance, the successful adult who gained approval through achievement, the reliable friend who maintained connection through self-sacrifice. Each role you played was a costume that fit someone else's expectations but never quite fit your soul. Each mask you wore protected you from rejection, but also prevented you from being truly seen. Each performance you gave earned applause but left you feeling empty inside. But underneath all the roles and masks and performances, your true self has been waiting. Patient as stone, faithful as sunrise, constant as breath. It has never stopped calling your name, even when you forgot how to listen. Your true self is not a project to be completed or a destination to be reached. It is not something you become through effort or achieve through discipline. It is something you uncover through honest seeing, something you reveal through courageous stripping away. It is the part of you that laughs at things that genuinely delight you, not things you think should be funny. It is the part that cries at beauty, at injustice, at the poignant tenderness of being human. It is the part that moves toward what nourishes you and away from what depletes you. Your true self knows what you love before your mind creates reasons. It knows what you need before your body feels the hunger. It knows what you're meant to contribute before your ego calculates the rewards. It is not perfect. It makes mistakes, feels conflicted, changes its mind. It contains contradictions and embraces paradox. It is both strong and vulnerable, wise and foolish, generous and selfish. It is beautifully, messily, authentically human. Your true self doesn't perform love. It embodies love. It doesn't chase approval. It radiates worthiness. It doesn't seek completion in others. It offers wholeness to every relationship. The journey to your true self isn't about finding someone new. It's about remembering someone ancient. It's about excavating the authentic core that exists beneath layers of conditioning, expectation, and adaptation. This remembering requires courage because your true self might not match the image others have of you. It might disappoint people who benefited from your false accommodations. It might challenge systems that depended on your compliance. But the cost of not being yourself is higher than any external consequence. The price of living a false life is the slow death of your soul, the gradual erosion of your vitality, the endless ache of unfulfilled potential. Tonight, you make a sacred commitment to the truth of who you are, not the truth others can accept, not the truth that makes you popular, but the truth that makes you real. You become who you truly are not through addition, but through subtraction, not through accumulation, but through revelation, not through becoming someone else, but through becoming more fully yourself. This is your birthright, your sacred responsibility, your ultimate freedom. To live as yourself in a world that constantly pressures you to be someone else is the greatest act of rebellion and the deepest expression of love. The child within you sits in the garden of memory, surrounded by flowers that bloom in impossible colours. This is your inner child, not a psychological concept, but a living presence, the part of you that remembers wonder, that believes in magic, that loves without condition. Your inner child holds the blueprint of your original nature. The design you carried before the world began its slow erosion of your authentic self. In this sacred child lives your natural capacity for joy, creativity, spontaneity, and unconditional love. But your inner child also carries your wounds. Every disappointment, every betrayal, every moment when love was withdrawn because you were too much or not enough. These experiences created scars on the tender heart of your younger self. The hurt child learned strategies for survival. If love required perfection, the child became a perfectionist. If attention meant being dramatic, the child learned to create crisis. If safety meant invisibility, the child learned to hide. These strategies served their purpose. They helped you survive childhood. But survival strategies that work for a child often become prisons for an adult. The perfectionism that once earned love now creates impossible standards. The drama that once got attention now pushes people away. Your inner child doesn't need to be healed in the traditional sense. It needs to be seen, heard, acknowledged, and integrated. It needs you to become the parent you always needed, the adult who can provide what was missing. This doesn't mean indulging every childish impulse. It means bringing conscious, compassionate adult awareness to the parts of you that are still young, still hurt, still hoping for the love that never came or that came with conditions attached. Your inner child holds keys to your creativity. It remembers when you painted because you loved colour, when you sang because you loved sound, when you danced because your body felt joy. It hasn't forgotten that play is sacred, that imagination is real, that wonder is wise. It also holds your capacity for spontaneous joy, for living in the present moment, for loving without calculating the cost. While your adult self plans and worries and analyzes, your inner child simply is, experiencing life directly and immediately. The wounded child needs your patience. It might act out when it feels unsafe, throw tantrums when it feels unheard, withdraw when it feels misunderstood. These aren't signs of immaturity. They're communications from a part of you that never learned more sophisticated ways to express its needs. Your inner child also needs your protection. There are people and situations that aren't safe for this tender part of you. Part of healing means learning to discern where your inner child can play freely, and where it needs to be protected by your wise adult self. Tonight, you meet your inner child in the garden of memory. You sit beside this sacred part of yourself and listen to its stories, its dreams, its fears. You don't try to fix or change or improve, you simply witness with love. Your inner child has been waiting so long to be seen, to be heard, to be valued for exactly what it is. It offers you gifts you forgot you possessed: wonder, playfulness, the ability to be amazed by simple beauty. In return, you offer your inner child what it has always needed: unconditional love, protection, and the promise that it will never again have to earn its place in your heart. The integration of your inner child doesn't make you childish, it makes you childlike. You become capable of serious play, responsible spontaneity, mature wonder. You rediscover the capacity to be amazed, to create for the joy of creating, to love for the simple pleasure of loving. In the midnight hour when the veil between worlds grows thin, you encounter the wise elder who lives within you. This is not the you of tomorrow or next year. This is the ancient wisdom that has always resided in your soul, waiting for you to grow quiet enough to hear its voice. Your inner elder carries the perspective of someone who has already walked the paths you're still travelling. It knows which battles are worth fighting and which struggles are just distractions. It understands the difference between what matters and what merely seems urgent. This elder self has already forgiven what you're still angry about. It has already released what you're still grasping. It has already found peace with what you're still trying to control. It watches your current struggles with compassionate understanding, knowing they are part of the journey but not the destination. Your inner elder speaks in whispers, not because it's weak, but because it's sure. It doesn't shout over the noise of daily life. It waits for the quiet moments when you can hear the deeper truths that lie beneath surface concerns. It knows that most of what you worry about will never happen, and most of what does happen will be workable. It understands that problems that seem insurmountable today will be stepping stones tomorrow. It has the long view that allows for patience with the process. Your elder self has already learned that happiness comes not from getting what you want, but from appreciating what you have. It has discovered that love is not about finding the perfect person, but about being the loving person. It knows that peace is not the absence of problems, but the presence of acceptance. This wise aspect of yourself doesn't judge your current struggles. It remembers struggling, remembers the urgency and intensity of earlier stages of growth. It offers guidance, not as criticism, but as companionship from someone who has walked this path before. Your inner elder holds the gift of perspective. When you're caught in the drama of the moment, it can remind you of the larger story. When you're overwhelmed by temporary setbacks, it can point toward the longer arc of growth and learning. It also carries the treasure of hard-won wisdom, the insights that can only come through lived experience, through mistakes made and lessons learned, through love given and received, through losses grieved and celebrations shared. Your elder self knows your true priorities because it has lived long enough to see what actually matters. It values relationships over achievements, experiences over possessions, presence over productivity. It has learned that the best things in life cannot be bought, earned, or captured, only received. Tonight, you sit with your inner elder in the library of accumulated wisdom. The shelves stretch infinitely upward, filled with volumes of experience, chapters of understanding, pages written in the ink of lived truth. Your elder self doesn't lecture or preach. It simply shares what it has learned through the gentle currency of stories. Each story is a gift, a piece of wisdom wrapped in narrative, a lesson disguised as memory. You learn that the elder within you isn't separate from who you are now. It's who you become when you stop rushing toward the future and start inhabiting the fullness of the present moment. It's the you that emerges when you cease striving and start being. The wisdom of your inner elder doesn't come from accumulating more knowledge. It comes from integrating what you already know. It comes from the alchemy of experience transformed into understanding, of information refined into wisdom. In connecting with your inner elder, you gain access to a source of guidance that doesn't depend on external authorities or experts. You discover that the counsel you seek already lives within you, waiting for you to develop the ears to hear and the heart to receive. The night air carries whispers of transformation, stories of caterpillars who trusted the darkness of the cocoon, of seeds who surrendered to the underground before reaching toward light. Your soul recognizes these stories because your soul knows about metamorphosis. You are in the midst of your own transformation, whether you recognize it or not. The old version of yourself, the one who tried so hard to fit, to please, to be perfect, is dissolving. What's emerging is not yet fully formed, not yet fully visible, but it's more real than anything you've ever been. Transformation is not comfortable. It requires the death of who you thought you were supposed to be and the birth of who you actually are. It asks you to release your grip on familiar forms of suffering and trust the unknown forms of joy. You've been taught to fear change, to cling to what's familiar even when it no longer serves you. But stagnation is not safety, it's slow death. The parts of your life that feel stuck aren't protecting you. They're preventing you from becoming who you're meant to be. Your soul is constantly evolving, constantly growing, constantly reaching toward greater expressions of love, truth, and authenticity. When you resist this natural unfolding, you create suffering. When you cooperate with it, you experience the deep satisfaction of living in alignment with your true nature. The transformation happening within you is not random, it's purposeful. Your soul has an intelligence that knows exactly what needs to change, and in what order. What seems like chaos to your mind is actually perfect order from the perspective of your deepest self. Sometimes transformation comes through crisis, the job loss that forces you to discover your true calling, the relationship that ends and opens space for deeper love, the illness that teaches you what really matters. These disruptions are not punishments. They're invitations to shed what no longer fits. Sometimes transformation comes through quiet revelation, the gradual recognition that you're no longer energized by what once excited you, the slow realization that your values have shifted, the gentle understanding that you've outgrown old patterns. Your resistance to change is natural and understandable. The ego's job is to maintain stability and predictability, but your soul's job is to grow and evolve and express itself more fully. The tension between these two drives is not a problem to be solved. It's a creative force to be channeled. Transformation requires faith, not necessarily religious faith, but the deeper faith that life is intelligent, that change serves growth, that what's meant for you cannot be stopped by temporary circumstances. It also requires patience. Real transformation happens in layers, in cycles, in spirals rather than straight lines. You don't become your authentic self overnight. You reveal yourself gradually, shedding layers of conditioning like a snake sheds skin. Tonight, you embrace your metamorphosis. You honor the parts of yourself that are dying and welcome the parts that are being born. You trust the process even when you can't see the outcome, even when the way forward is unclear. You're not becoming someone else. You're becoming more yourself. You're not losing who you are. You're finding who you've always been underneath the costumes and masks and adaptations. The butterfly doesn't mourn the caterpillar. The oak doesn't regret the acorn. The adult doesn't apologize for outgrowing childhood. Your transformation is natural, necessary, and beautiful. You're exactly where you need to be in the process of becoming who you're meant to be. Trust the timing, honor the journey, and celebrate the courage it takes to grow. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. The words of Carl Jung arrive like dawn after a long night, illuminating what has been hidden in shadow, making visible what has been operating in darkness. You've been living as if your conscious mind was the entirety of who you are, as if the small portion of yourself that you can see and control was the whole story. But beneath the surface of awareness lies a vast ocean of unconscious material, memories, impulses, wisdom, and wounds that shape your experience more powerfully than your conscious intentions. Your unconscious is not your enemy. It's the repository of everything you've ever experienced, learned, or inherited from the generations before you. It holds your instincts, your deepest knowing, your creative potential, and yes, also your unresolved pain. Jung understood that the goal is not to eliminate the unconscious. That would be impossible and undesirable. The goal is to develop a conscious relationship with it, to bring its contents into the light of awareness where they can be integrated rather than simply endured. What you don't know about yourself has tremendous power over you. The childhood wound you haven't healed will recreate itself in adult relationships. The fear you haven't faced will limit your choices. The talent you haven't acknowledged will remain dormant. Your unconscious speaks to you constantly through symptoms, dreams, slips of the tongue, and repetitive patterns. When you keep attracting the same type of difficult relationship, your unconscious is trying to heal an old wound. When you sabotage yourself just before success, your unconscious is protecting you from a fear you haven't examined. The work of making the unconscious conscious is not about perfect self-knowledge. That's impossible. It's about developing a curious, compassionate relationship with your inner world, becoming a conscious participant in your own psychological process rather than a victim of forces you don't understand. Jung called this process individuation, the lifelong journey of becoming who you truly are by integrating all aspects of your psyche. It's not about becoming perfect, but about becoming whole, not about eliminating your darkness, but about including it consciously. This integration requires courage because you'll discover things about yourself that challenge your self-image. You might find anger where you thought you were only patient, selfishness where you believed you were only generous, power where you assumed you were only weak. But you'll also discover gifts you didn't know you possessed, strength you didn't know you had, wisdom you didn't know you carried. The unconscious holds not just your wounds, but also your unrealized potential, your unlived possibilities, your dormant talents. The journey of making the unconscious conscious is not a solo endeavor. Dreams provide guidance, relationships offer mirrors, and life circumstances create opportunities for growth. Your unconscious uses every available channel to communicate with you. Jung also understood that we carry not just personal unconscious material, but also collective unconscious patterns, the archetypal energies and stories that belong to all humanity. When you understand these deeper patterns, you realize you're not alone in your struggles or unique in your journey. Tonight, you begin the sacred work of befriending your unconscious. You approach the hidden aspects of yourself not as problems to be solved, but as allies to be understood. Not as enemies to be conquered, but as parts of yourself to be integrated. You develop the capacity to hold paradox, to embrace complexity, to be curious about your own contradictions. You become an explorer of your inner landscape, a student of your own psychology, a compassionate witness to your own unfolding. The unconscious will always remain partially mysterious, that's its nature. But by developing a conscious relationship with it, you transform from being unconsciously driven by forces you don't understand to being consciously engaged with the full spectrum of who you are. But when the persona becomes your entire identity, you lose touch with who you really are underneath the performance. Your persona is often the opposite of your shadow. If you've banished your anger to the shadow, your persona might be perpetually nice. If you've hidden your vulnerability, your persona might be constantly strong. If you've buried your spontaneity, your persona might be rigidly controlled. The problem arises when you begin to believe that your persona is your true self. When you identify so completely with the mask that you forget there's a face underneath. When you perform your character so consistently that you lose access to your authentic responses. Your persona is also shaped by the projections others place on you, the role of the responsible one in your family, the identity of the smart one among your friends, the character of the reliable one at work. These projections can become prisons, limiting your expression to what others expect. Breaking free from persona identification doesn't mean abandoning all social appropriateness. It means choosing consciously how you present yourself, rather than being unconsciously driven by others' expectations. It means wearing your masks lightly, knowing they're temporary costumes rather than permanent identity. The journey beyond persona requires the courage to disappoint people who have become attached to your performance. Some friends might not recognize the more authentic you. Some family members might resist your evolution beyond the role they assigned you. But living authentically is worth the temporary discomfort of others' adjustment. Your real friends will love the authentic you more than they loved your performance. Your genuine relationships will deepen when they're based on truth, rather than carefully maintained illusions. Your persona also limits your access to your own energy and creativity. When you're constantly performing, you exhaust yourself maintaining an image. When you're always on, you never fully relax into being. When you're perpetually appropriate, you lose touch with your spontaneous responses. Tonight, you begin the gentle process of loosening the strings that hold your persona in place. You experiment with small acts of authenticity, expressing a genuine opinion, admitting a real feeling, showing a spontaneous response. You notice where your persona feels tight, where it pinches, where it restricts your natural movement. You observe the difference between your automatic responses and your authentic ones, between what you think you should say and what you actually want to express. The The goal is not to eliminate your persona entirely, but to wear it consciously, to choose when to engage it and when to set it aside. You develop the ability to move fluidly between appropriate social behavior and authentic self-expression. You remember that your worth doesn't depend on others' approval of your performance. You are valuable not because of how well you play your role, but because of the irreplaceable uniqueness of who you are underneath all roles. The persona is a tool, not an identity. Use it when it serves you, but don't let it use you. Let it help you navigate the world, but don't let it separate you from yourself. In the center of your being lives a self that is both personal and transpersonal, both uniquely yours and connected to something greater than individual identity. Jung called this the self with a capital S, the archetype of wholeness, the organizing principle of the psyche, the image of God within. This self is not your ego, though it includes your ego. It's not your personality, though it expresses through your personality. It's the deeper reality that your ego serves when it's functioning properly, the source from which your truest impulses arise. Your self knows things your ego doesn't know. It understands the purpose behind your struggles, the meaning hidden in your suffering, the gift wrapped inside your greatest challenges. It sees the larger pattern of your life that your day-to-day consciousness cannot perceive. When you're aligned with yourself, your life has a quality of flow and rightness that can't be manufactured through willpower alone. Decisions become clearer, actions feel more natural, and even difficulties seem to serve some greater purpose. Yourself communicates through intuition, through dreams, through the pull you feel toward certain paths and away from others. It speaks in the language of energy and attraction, drawing you toward what serves your growth and development. But yourself is not always comfortable. It doesn't prioritize your ego's desire for safety, control, or approval. It will lead you into challenges that serve your development even when your ego would prefer to stay safe and small. The process of individuation, becoming who you truly are, is really the process of ego self-alignment. It's learning to serve the deeper intelligence of your being, rather than the smaller concerns of your personality. It's discovering how to be a faithful servant of your own soul. Your self contains opposites, light and shadow, masculine and feminine, known and unknown. It's comfortable with paradox in a way that your ego, which prefers clarity and certainty, is not. It can hold contradictions without needing to resolve them immediately. This self is also your connection to the collective, to the archetypal realm, to the transpersonal dimensions of existence. Through your individual self, you participate in the larger self of humanity, of nature, of cosmos. When you're disconnected from yourself, life feels meaningless, direction unclear, energy scattered. When you're connected, even difficult periods have a sense of purpose and meaning. You trust the process even when you can't see the destination. Your self is patient in a way your ego is not. It works on timescales that transcend immediate gratification, orchestrating growth and healing across years and decades. What seems like setback to your ego might be set up to yourself. Tonight, you sit in the silence that allows yourself to speak. You move beyond the chatter of should and must and try to hear the quieter voice of your deepest knowing. You ask not what you're supposed to do, but what wants to emerge through you. Yourself doesn't need to be developed. It needs to be discovered. It doesn't need to be created. It needs to be uncovered. It doesn't need to be improved. It needs to be trusted and followed. The relationship between ego and self is like the relationship between a good servant and a wise master. The ego handles the details of daily life while serving the larger purposes of the self. The ego maintains the personality while expressing the deeper nature of the self. In this relationship, you find both humility and empowerment. Humility because you recognize you're serving something greater than your small self. Empowerment because you're connected to a source of wisdom and guidance that transcends personal limitations. The self is your truest identity, your deepest reality, your ultimate home. Everything else, personality, roles, achievements, possessions, is temporary clothing for this eternal essence. Return to this center, and you return to yourself. The sacred marriage within you is not between you and another person, but between the different aspects of your own psyche. It's the union of conscious and unconscious, masculine and feminine, human and divine, ego and self. This inner marriage is the goal of individuation, the completion that makes you whole, The integration that brings peace to the warring parts of yourself is not about perfection, but about harmony. Not about elimination of conflict, but about conscious relationship between opposites. For too long, you've believed that completion comes from outside yourself, from the right relationship, the perfect job, the ideal circumstances. But external relationships can only mirror the relationship you have with yourself. External harmony reflects internal integration. The sacred marriage begins with the recognition that you contain everything you seek. The love you want from others already exists within you. The approval you crave from external sources can be given by your own compassionate awareness. The security you seek in circumstances already lives in your connection to your deepest self. This doesn't mean you don't need others. Humans are relational beings who grow through connection. But it means you approach relationships from wholeness rather than neediness, from overflow rather than emptiness, from choice rather than compulsion. Your inner masculine and feminine must learn to dance together rather than compete for dominance. When your inner feminine is wounded, she might become too passive, too accommodating, too willing to sacrifice her needs for others' comfort. When your inner masculine is wounded, he might become too aggressive, too controlling, too focused on achievement at the expense of relationship. The healing happens when these energies learn to complement each other. Your inner feminine provides intuition, receptivity, emotional intelligence, and connection to the mysterious. Your inner masculine provides direction, protection, structure, and the ability to manifest dreams in practical reality. Together, they create a wholeness that is neither entirely masculine nor entirely feminine, but a unique blend that is authentically you. This integration allows you to be both strong and tender, both receptive and directive, both feeling and thinking. The sacred marriage also requires the integration of your shadow, making peace with the parts of yourself you've rejected, learning to love what you've judged as unlovable, finding the gifts hidden in what you've considered weaknesses. Your light and shadow must learn to coexist, each tempering the other, each providing what the other lacks. Your light without shadow becomes superficial and naive. Your shadow without light becomes destructive and unconscious. Together they create depth, authenticity, and wisdom. This inner union transforms your relationship with solitude. Instead of loneliness, you experience wholeness. Instead of needing constant external stimulation, you enjoy the rich inner landscape of your integrated psyche. Instead of running from yourself, you come home to yourself. Tonight, you celebrate the sacred marriage within your own soul. You honor the long journey of bringing together what was split, healing what was wounded, loving what was rejected. You recognize that this union is not a destination, but an ongoing process. Not an achievement, but a way of being. The ceremony is simple but profound. You place your hand on your heart and make a vow to yourself, to honor all aspects of your being, to treat yourself with the love you seek from others, to be faithful to your own truth even when it's inconvenient. This marriage requires no witnesses except your own authentic self. It needs no official blessing except your own commitment. It asks for no promises except the promise to keep choosing love over fear, wholeness over fragmentation, truth over convenience. In this sacred union, you become your own beloved, your own best friend, your own faithful companion. You discover that the love you seek has been living within you all along, waiting for you to turn toward it with recognition and gratitude. The treasure you've been seeking in the outside world lives buried in the depths of your own being. It's not gold or jewels, but something far more precious, the recognition of your own inherent worth, the remembrance of your original wholeness, the recovery of your authentic power. This treasure was hidden early in your life when you learned to seek validation outside yourself, when you were taught that love must be earned, that worth must be proven, that acceptance depends on performance. The treasure went underground, protected by layers of conditioning, guarded by the dragon of your own forgetting. You've been on a quest without knowing it, searching for what you already possess, seeking outside yourself what can only be found within. Every relationship, every achievement, every acquisition has been an attempt to recover the treasure you buried in childhood. The map to this treasure is written in the language of your own experience. Your longings point toward it. Your dreams reveal its location. Your deepest joy marks the spot where it lies waiting. The X that marks the spot is not on any external map. It's in the center of your own heart. But the path to the treasure requires you to face the dragon, not to slay it, but to understand it. The dragon is your fear of your own power, your terror of your own magnificence, your resistance to taking up the space you were born to occupy. This dragon speaks in the voice of unworthiness. It tells you that you're not enough, that you don't deserve love, that you must shrink yourself to be accepted. It breathes the fire of comparison, burning away your confidence with stories of how others are more talented, more beautiful, more successful. The dragon was never your enemy. It was your protector, keeping the treasure safe until you were strong enough to claim it. It guarded your authentic self from a world that seemed too dangerous for vulnerability, too harsh for tenderness, too competitive for genuine expression. But now you're ready to reclaim what was always yours. You approach the dragon not with sword and shield, but with compassion and understanding. You recognize that this guardian is also a part of you that needs love, not conquest. When you stop fighting the dragon and start listening to it, you discover what it was really protecting. Underneath the fear of inadequacy lies the truth of your inherent worth. Beneath the terror of rejection lives the reality of your essential lovability. Under the anxiety about not being enough rests the fact that you are more than enough. You are magnificent. The treasure is not something you gain. It's something you remember. It's not something you become. It's something you uncover. It's not something you achieve. It's something you already are. This treasure cannot be lost, though it can be forgotten. It cannot be stolen, though it can be ignored. It cannot be diminished by others' opinions, though it can be obscured by your own beliefs about yourself. Tonight, you claim your treasure. You dig through the layers of doubt and conditioning to find the gold of your authentic self. You brush away the dust of others' expectations to reveal the gem of your true nature. The treasure is your birthright, your inheritance, your natural endowment. You don't have to earn it, prove it, or justify it. You simply have to remember it, claim it, and live from it. When you know your own treasure, you stop seeking completion in others. When you recognize your own worth, you stop needing external validation. When you claim your own power, you stop giving it away to people and circumstances that don't deserve it. This is the greatest discovery of your lifetime. Not that you can become worthy, but that you already are. Not that you can achieve value, but that you already possess it. Not that you can earn love, but that you are love itself in human form. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. These words echo now with the resonance of lived truth, not merely understood concepts. You have travelled the long road home to yourself, through shadow and light, through wound and healing, through forgetting and remembering. You understand now that becoming who you truly are is not a destination, but a way of travelling. It's not a goal to achieve, but a reality to embody. It's not a problem to solve, but a mystery to live. The journey has taught you that authenticity is not about perfection, but about honesty. It's not about having no flaws, but about owning your flaws with grace. It's not about being liked by everyone, but about being true to yourself. You've learned that your sensitivity is not weakness, but strength. That your depth is not burden, but gift. That your complexity is not problem, but richness. The very things you were taught to hide are the things that make you uniquely valuable. Your scars have become your beauty marks. Your wounds have become your wisdom. Your struggles have become your strengths. You no longer see your difficult experiences as mistakes, but as curriculum, not as punishment, but as preparation. You've discovered that love is not something you earn through perfection, but something you are by nature. You've learned that worth is not something you achieve through accomplishment, but something you possess by birthright. The masks you once wore to fit in now feel foreign and uncomfortable. The roles you once played to gain approval now feel like costumes for a play you no longer want to perform. The person you thought you should be has dissolved into the person you actually are. Your relationships have transformed because you have transformed. When you stopped trying to get love and started being love, everything changed. When you stopped seeking completion in others and started living from your own wholeness, your connections deepened. You've made peace with your paradoxes, embraced your contradictions, and learned to love your complexity. You no longer try to be consistent in ways that diminish your humanity. You allow yourself to be large enough to contain multitudes. Your dreams have evolved from trying to prove yourself to trying to express yourself, from seeking external validation to creating authentic value, from playing it safe to taking meaningful risks. You've learned to trust your inner knowing even when it contradicts external advice. You've developed the courage to follow your own path, even when others question your direction. You've found the strength to be unpopular when popularity requires betraying your truth. The child within you has been welcomed home, the shadow has been integrated, the anima and animus have found their dance. The persona has become a conscious tool rather than an unconscious master. The self has taken its rightful place as the organizing principle of your life. Tonight, you celebrate not the completion of your journey, but your conscious participation in it. You honor not your perfection, but your willingness to keep growing. You acknowledge not your arrival, but your continued traveling. You are becoming who you truly are not through reaching some future destination, but through fully inhabiting each present moment with authenticity, presence, and love. The privilege of lifetime is yours. You are living it now. The wise teacher that Jung became late in life understood something profound about the human journey. He saw that we are not broken beings in need of fixing, but whole beings in need of remembering. We are not problems to be solved, but mysteries to be lived. In his final years, Jung spoke less about pathology and more about possibility, less about what was wrong with people, and more about what was trying to emerge through them. He saw the psyche not as a collection of symptoms, but as a creative force seeking expression. He understood that the goal of psychological work is not adjustment to an unhealthy society, but the development of one's authentic nature. He knew that true mental health comes not from conformity, but from individuation, not from fitting in, but from growing into oneself. Jung recognized that modern suffering often comes not from external circumstances, but from disconnection from our deeper nature. We suffer not because life is difficult, it has always been difficult, but because we've forgotten who we are beneath our adaptations to difficulty. He saw that every neurosis contains a piece of unlived life. Every symptom points toward a gift-seeking expression. Every problem holds the seed of its own resolution. What we resist or deny doesn't disappear. It goes underground and emerges in disguised forms. The wisdom of Jung's approach is that it treats the psyche as intelligent, purposeful, and inherently oriented toward growth and healing. Your unconscious is not working against you. It's working for your wholeness, even when its methods seem counterproductive to your ego. Jung understood that psychological and spiritual development are not separate journeys, but aspects of the same process. The work of individuation is simultaneously the work of soul-making, the labour of becoming whole, and the labour of becoming holy. He knew that this work cannot be rushed or forced, that it unfolds according to its own organic timing, that trying to control the process often interferes with its natural development. Growth happens in its own season, healing in its own time. Jung also recognized that this inner work is not selfish but service. When you become who you truly are, you contribute something unique and necessary to the world. Your individual healing contributes to collective healing. Your personal wholeness serves the greater wholeness. He saw that we live in times that demand this kind of inner work, times when external structures are changing so rapidly that we must find our anchor in internal reality. The old maps no longer work. We must learn to navigate by the compass of our own authentic nature. Tonight, you carry forward Jung's legacy not by studying his theories, but by living his insights. You become a student of your own psyche, a researcher of your own experience, a scientist of your own soul. You approach your inner life with the curiosity of an explorer, the patience of a gardener, the reverence of a pilgrim. You understand that this work is both deeply personal and universally relevant, both individually necessary and collectively urgent. The path Jung mapped leads not away from the world but deeper into it, not away from relationship but into more authentic connection, not away from responsibility but towards service that flows from authenticity rather than obligation. You honour his contribution by making your own, by adding your thread to the tapestry of human understanding, by becoming a living example of what's possible when someone commits to the journey of becoming whole. Jung's final gift was his faith in the human capacity for transformation, his trust in the psyche's orientation toward healing, his belief that we can learn to live from our depths rather than just our surfaces. This faith becomes yours as you continue the work he began, as you explore the territories he mapped, as you discover for yourself the truth he spent his lifetime uncovering, that within each human being lives the potential for wholeness, wisdom, and authentic power. In the deepest hour of night, when the world sleeps and defences dissolve, You discover what mystics and poets have always known. You are not separate from the love you seek, the peace you crave, the wholeness you desire. The boundary between self and cosmos reveals itself as illusion. The separation between inner and outer, personal and universal, human and divine shows itself to be a fiction of limited perception. You're not a drop seeking the ocean, you're the ocean expressing itself as a drop. This recognition doesn't come through thinking, but through being. Not through understanding, but through experiencing. Not through believing, but through knowing with the deeper intelligence of the heart. You are the consciousness in which all experience arises. You are the awareness that witnesses every thought, feeling, and sensation without being limited by any of them. You are the space in which all stories play out while remaining untouched by their drama. Your true nature is like the sky, vast, open, unchanging, while your experiences are like weather patterns that move through the sky without affecting its essential nature. Clouds may block the sun temporarily, but they never diminish the sky itself. This understanding transforms everything while changing nothing. You're still human, still individual, still living your particular life with its joys and challenges, but you know yourself as more than your circumstances, larger than your problems, deeper than your personality. The love you've been seeking exists as the very fabric of your being. It's not something you can lose or gain, earn or forfeit. It's what you are made of, what you arise from, what you return to in moments of deep rest and recognition. The peace you've been pursuing is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of something deeper than conflict. It's the unshakable stillness that exists at your core, unaffected by the surface turbulence of daily life. The wholeness you've been trying to achieve is your original condition, not your future attainment. You were never broken, never lacking, never insufficient. You only forgot your true nature temporarily, like someone who forgets they're dreaming while in the middle of a dream. This remembering is grace, not earned through effort but received through openness, not achieved through striving but discovered through stopping, not acquired through doing but revealed through being. Tonight, you rest in this recognition. You let yourself be held by the love that you are, supported by the peace that is your nature, embraced by the wholeness that is your birthright. You don't need to maintain this awareness through effort or discipline. It maintains itself because it's what you actually are. You can forget it temporarily, but you can never lose it permanently because you are it. This is the ultimate healing. Not the fixing of what's broken, but the recognition that nothing was ever broken. This is the final teaching. Not the learning of something new, but the remembering of something eternal. You are love itself, wearing the temporary costume of a human being. You are consciousness itself, playing the role of an individual person. You are wholeness itself, experiencing itself through the beautiful illusion of separation and return. The journey ends where it began, in the recognition of what was always true, the remembrance of what was never lost, the return to what you never actually left. You are home. You have always been home. The seeking was just love's way of playing hide and seek with itself. Consciousness's way of experiencing the joy of recognition, wholeness's way of appreciating its own vastness. Rest now in this truth. Let it permeate every cell, every breath, every heartbeat. You are not a human being having a spiritual experience. You are spirit itself, having a beautifully human adventure. The night knows your name because it is your name. The darkness holds you because it is you. The silence speaks your truth because silence is your native language. In this moment there is nothing to seek, nothing to fix, nothing to become. There is only this, the infinite expressing itself as you, the eternal manifesting as this moment, love celebrating itself through the miracle of your existence. You are the answer to every question you've ever asked, the solution to every problem you've ever faced, the fulfillment of every longing you've ever felt. Welcome home to yourself. Welcome home to love. Welcome home to the truth that you are and have always been, exactly what you've been seeking. The privilege of a lifetime is not to become who you truly are. It's to recognize that you already are, and always have been, the magnificent being you came here to be. Rest now in this knowing. Let the night hold you in its dark grace. Let the silence sing you the lullaby of your own true nature. You are loved beyond measure because you are love itself. You are safe beyond question because you are safety itself. You are whole beyond doubt because you are wholeness itself. Sleep now, beloved. Dream the dreams that remember. Wake when you're ready to the truth that never sleeps. The journey home is complete. You have arrived where you never left. Welcome to the kingdom of your own magnificent, ordinary, extraordinary being. All is well. All has always been well. All will always be well. You are home.